to questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Cololio, I found your testimony really compelling when you talk about the complications of different food labeling requirements in different states. And we've heard a number of my colleagues talk about the fact that many districts are right on the boundary between different states and how ridiculous it might be to have a district that's bounded by 4 states with, 4 different versions of food labeling requirements. So, but Mr. Mondernach actually gave some compelling testimony, kind of the counterpoint to that, which is that traditionally states have been at the forefront of ensuring food safety, and states do have a lane to play in the regulation of food safety. So how do you navigate this space? Because on the one hand, you can make a pretty compelling argument that we in Congress have an Article I responsibility to regulate interstate commerce, and at this point, you can argue that labeling requirements definitely fall into that category. But also, as Mr. Mondernach pointed out, under our system of federalism, consumer protection is something we've traditionally relegated to the states. And if someone were to, as Mr. Hamilton pointed out, confusingly mislabel natural cheese, something that's not a natural cheese, a natural cheese, that might be something that a state is going to look into as an unfair, deceptive business practice. So how do you navigate this? Because everyone has made excellent points, but I mean, really we have to suss out, where the federal lane here is that should be preemptive and where the state lanes are.
So thank you. So we have great relationships with all our state and local agencies. We work with them hand in hand. Mr. Vander mentioned recalls and how important they are to the food safety system. I think when you look at different states, they have varying different capabilities, right? I mean, think of some of the different funding that those states might put towards regulation. If there's not a federal government that oversees this overall, the states that choose to not invest resources or the states that choose not to regulate, what happens to the consumers in those states? Those states are left to the guidance of whom to make sure that that food is safe. So when we have different states all interpreting different food safety initiatives, it's not science-based or it may not be science-based, we need one reliable source. And I think that every state has to. We're in 2 states, Pennsylvania and New Jersey. One state heavily regulated, the other state not regulated at all, or compared to the one. So I think that while we have great relationships with all the states we deal with, we still believe that a federal oversight, well-funded, with the same purpose we all have is to provide our country with safe food is what's most necessary. And it will be the most efficient and effective. It has to be funded. There has to be time limits. There has to be a cooperative nature of getting foods to market that are proven safe. But it just can't be 50 states deciding whether to regulate or not.
Sure. Well, I agree with you. And food labeling requirements are a particularly clear and compelling case for that. But just playing devil's advocate, we can't base our preemption on whether or not a state has adequately funded its food safety efforts, right? Those are rooted in our constitutional principles and have to apply to all the states. Mr. Mondernach, you brought up in your testimony the unfortunate recent incident where infant formula was recalled, and that was initiated by an investigation led by my own state of California that found an increase in infant botulism linked to powder formula. And in your testimony, you were talking about how that overall response was constrained by limited access to information. Could you talk a little bit more about what information could have been shared to make that recall work better?
The distribution lists with the local agencies would have been the primary improvement that we could have had. There are thousands of local agency employees that could have helped us do those recall audit checks almost instantaneously. Well, instead, we had to wait 5 days to make that happen.
And these are distribution lists that were available to the federal government but weren't able to be shared because of current law?
Correct.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can, through the bills that we're considering in this hearing, maybe fix that situation. Well, thank you very much for all of our witnesses for being here. I'm really have enjoyed your testimony. I yield back.